There we go.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tesla Life number 209. Here we are. It's the seventh day of the seventh month of
It is.
2021. That, of course, would be July 7th for those of you who are working hard trying to figure out that math equation, but we'll help you out. Yeah, welcome to the show. We've got a ton of news as per usual. With me, as always, our co-host, Mr. Casey Green, joins us from the DC area. How are you today, sir?
Sweaty. Actually, I would be if I didn't have this fan on.
Oh, yes. Hot and humid, I bet, in DC.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
The AC just isn't keeping up.
Oh, my goodness. My goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, here in Southern Ontario, we're just getting over a heat wave, and weather's going to break with storm tonight. So that'll make things a little different. So
Yeah, we
we're
do have
thankful
the
for
hurricane
that.
coming in tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. That's going to break things up, definitely.
Yeah.
You'll notice that Mr. Patrick Connor is not with us this evening, but he says he will be back next week. So we say hello to Patrick today. Well, with that, let's get into the news of the week because, of course, Tesla never sleeps. There's always stories going on. And of course, if you'd like to keep up with us during the week, throughout the week, you can follow us on our Twitter feed at The Tesla Life or through our Facebook feed, The Tesla Life #1. So you can keep up on news that we post throughout the days of the week. First story today, of course, would be the earnings call. Well, not the earnings call. I guess it's the end of the quarter marker. So Tesla 2021 Q2 just ended recently, and a new record was achieved. We had 1,250 deliveries of Tesla vehicles during that quarter. And production was 206,421. Again, two new records for Tesla for production and sales. And if you recall last quarter, quarter one, that was a record as well for a couple of reasons. Record for quarter one and record for all time. And of course, with these numbers being even higher, we are now at a brand new record. So over 200,000 vehicles sold in one quarter. And Casey, do you remember back before the Model 3 when we thought a large number was 30,000 in a quarter?
Yes. This is also the first time in a while that they haven't sold more than they built.
Yeah, so
Refilling that channel.
putting a few into the stockpile, I guess.
I think they just didn't make it out in time.
So yeah, it is quite an achievement, and of course, with new factories just on the edge of starting up, these numbers are going to get a lot bigger, and more records are going to fall with more production coming into the mix. Certainly, these numbers are going to be eclipsed fairly soon.
But they will. I'm excited.
Absolutely.
This looks like they're going to do 900,000 if they just continue on, but this is Tesla. They don't just continue on. So they may be at 1 million this year.
I'm hoping for 1.1.
Right?
That was my prediction. So we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, great news, great quarter, and now they start off again on quarter number 3. And of course, we've even heard information that a lot of the vehicles for quarter 3, especially Model Y, have already actually a lot of them have been almost sold out. So just like the story was last quarter, Tesla started to, of course, sell into a new quarter before the previous quarter was done because they're counting on production that's coming off the lines for that new quarter. So
Yeah.
that continues. So Model Y, Model 3 certainly continue to be in high demand across the world. A whole bunch of countries has indicated that the Model Y is a overwhelming success, as well as the Model 3, of course, is popular and continues to be so.
So is quarter 3 sold out or nearly sold out?
I heard it was nearly sold out.
Okay.
So if you're sitting on the fence, you better get off that fence now. Get your order in because it sounds like it's going to be another sold out quarter for the
Otherwise,
Model
you're looking
Y,
at a Christmas
especially.
car.
Exactly.
Actually, a New Year car because of the way that they do it. Oh man.
Next story, and this is kind of leads into this story. There's been a number of reports about Tesla used vehicles costing the same, or in some cases even more, than a new vehicle. And how's that possible? This article from Inside EVs, which of course all the stories we link into the notes. So if you want to go into detail, you can do that. But this story talks about used pricing of Teslas being equal or higher, or a little bit lower than new ones. So of course, the typical car market, you can know that approximately after 3 years of use of a vehicle, it loses approximately somewhere in the area of say 40-50% of value. But that's not the case for Tesla. Their cars are retaining those values, and in some cases, as this article mentions, it's even exceeding the purchase price of a new vehicle. And of course, a lot of that reason has become when you can get your car. So if someone is waiting for a vehicle, they're most likely, in a number of cases, they're willing to pay a little bit more to get that vehicle quicker. So it's amazing, and I don't think I could follow into this particular type of purchase. But we've got some people that are paying equal or a little bit higher for a used vehicle compared to a new. Casey, could you ever do that, or is that just
Oh,
would you
I
have a
would have to.
problem with that?
I'd have to really need a car.
Yeah.
My favorite one was the Model S long range that was going for $1 more than a brand new Plaid.
Yeah,
I'm not.
I just can't see that.
No, I don't think
I
he's going
could
to get
see,
that asking price.
in the cases they're mentioning, that car may only be under a year old. We're not talking about a 3-year car that's selling for over the price, except for Casey's instance there. But that car hasn't sold yet, as far as I know.
Well, it was a new Model S long range with
Okay,
22
so
miles on it.
it was just before the refresh then.
No, it was refreshed. It had the 22-inch wheels and everything, so it looks like the Plaid, but it's slower.
Okay.
Yeah, it has one less motor, and so the guy has it listed for so like say the Plaid is 139, he's got it going for 139.1 or 001, and he'll probably sell it, but hopefully not for that price. That's insane.
That's excessive. But
Mm,
it's I don't know. It's an interesting world. I was looking for a used Model 3, have been for a while, just kind of keeping track of the prices. And of
yeah,
course, that 40 to 50% drop after 3 years did not occur. And it doesn't look like Teslas are in that same, I guess that same math equation that normal cars are. Although a number of other EVs are certainly in that equation. So Tesla seems to be the one that's outside of that compared to other vehicles and manufacturers. So
yeah. A couple of folks in my local clubs have been able to drive their cars for free and then sell them, and not just the Teslas, but especially the Teslas, the Model 3s with modest options, modest miles, and they just sell them and then they just get back in line because they only need one car for that quarter.
yeah. So be interested to see what you out there think. Those in the chat room and others that are watching this, send us a note what you think. Could you ever pay more for a used vehicle compared to what it would cost for the new vehicle? It's just that you would have to wait. What do you think?
Right. Speaking of the chat room, Derek and Hockey Day were in there before we got started, and I want to
Ah,
also say
very
hello
good.
to JT24 and apparently Kevin.
Fantastic. Welcome all.
Yeah.
Next, we move on to Tesla has now offered the Model Y standard range has shown up on the order books again. But there's a catch. There's a catch.
There's a
It's only
catch.
in Hong Kong. So,
but it's a legitimate trim.
yeah, it's certainly legitimate, and it's certainly available if you're in Hong Kong.
Right.
So it looks like I guess 244 miles is enough for the island of Hong Kong. It makes it a lot more sense. You wouldn't even need a supercharger really on Hong Kong, except for the amount of people. But
Yeah.
in this particular case, it looks like Tesla wants to have a little bit of an offer, cheaper than the regular version. Maybe they can sell a few more vehicles. And they believe, of course, if the vehicle sits on the island of Hong Kong for all of its life, there's no real purpose in having a long range on the island. So
I
that
wonder.
that option now exists.
I wonder if there is a incentive that's making it so they want to bring this
Yeah,
back.
maybe there is that. It's it reaches a retail threshold price or something along that line.
Yeah. I'm also curious now if, because of this, when the cars are being Frankenstein by folks like Rich Rebuilds, a standard range rear-wheel drive Model Y is now a valid configuration. Is it only valid if it also has right-hand drive or not? Because if not, then you could couple a Model Y together between a bunch of crashed cars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
except as Rich found out the hard
Oh, you
way.
won't supercharge.
Yeah. That is a definite drawback when they enter in the serial number that vehicle's been crashed. Even if you move the battery, it'll never
Yeah.
supercharge again. So there's definitely a drawback when it comes to that.
That's for sure. Oh, this next one was cool.
What was that?
I said the next one is cool. The
Yes.
boss distracted me. Yep. And Hockey Day says nope, so I'm assuming that the nope is
he's not going to buy a used car more expensive than a new car.
Exactly.
I'm with you, Hockey Day. Absolutely.
It would have to be a necessity. Like my wife is currently saving for a Model 3 right now, and
I think it's only good for ultra rich people. Like if you've been saving and waiting for that car, I think you're going to wait an extra 3 months.
right.
Like
Yes.
even if you had to go the extra quarter, I think you would wait.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
She's thrifty, so she won't pay over new. She'll just switch to a new if that's the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next story. Elon presented at the MWC conference in 2021. So this is a conference that talks about telecommunication.
Mobile
And
World Congress.
He was on the his own interview segment via video, and he talked about a lot about Starlink and what's been going on, and how SpaceX is positioning Starlink to kind of be the go-between between fiber and 5G. So he used that point a number of times through the presentation. There will be a link, of course, if you'd like to watch the full presentation. But it was kind of interesting that he touched upon that point a few times during his presentation. That Starlink is this, I guess, in between that gives, it's not fiber, not 5G, but it gives you that ability to have that high-speed internet at more access points throughout the world that's currently not covered by 5G or fiber. So
he also mentioned replacing fiber for the rural 5G towers so they could meet their requirements.
Right. So it would be a connection with 5G.
Yeah. Because in that case, it makes it. I mean, because the 5G towers are run by the fiber network guys, but to run a fiber tower or a fiber connection to a tower out in the middle of nowhere, then you got to set everything up and make sure it's got battery backups, the right amount of everything. Versus if they can just put a dish on the very top next to the GPS receiver and the battery bank and call it a day, put the antennas up, it can make it affordable to meet their rural legal requirements.
Right, because then you wouldn't have the burying of the cable or putting up of poles all the way to the tower to get that fiber into it.
And it could turn it in from a loss to a break even, or even a continued profit. So I mean, if it's profitable to service you, they'll put up more towers. That way, you're not having to be at the very minimum edge of your 5G.
Right. Right. So kind of interesting. He also touched upon some other figures, and of course, the the current Starlink has in the area of about 70,000 current clients. Of course, the number that was put out there was 69,420, of course,
They
and
surpassed it.
so they're obviously beyond that at this point. But that's close to 70,000 subscribers currently. And another interesting point is on subscribers, Elon had indicated that within the next 12 months, they will be, he believes, at somewhere between 300 and 500,000 subscribers in the next 12 months.
Yeah.
Currently, the network has 1,700 plus satellites that are up and running. It can be accessed now in 12 countries, and that number is growing almost weekly. And here's the real interesting number. He believes that SpaceX will put in somewhere between $5 and $10 billion in investment before this network starts to turn positive cash flow. So, the infrastructure, the launching of the satellites themselves, the infrastructure to have those base stations on Earth, the production of those satellites, and of course the new type of satellites that will have laser communication between themselves. And the number of satellites, of course, increasing from 17,000 to 1,700 to 12 or 15,000 is coming as well. So he talked about somewhere between $5 and $10 billion will be the investment before he believes there'll be a positive cash flow for Starlink, the company itself. Starlink on its own, which of course we've been told that there will be some sort of an IPO in the future when they can accurately gauge what they feel the income is going to be from the company. So still a couple years away, apparently.
And then once they get that positive cash flow, they'll be open to investment by regular schmucks like us.
Yeah.
And they are launching now satellite version 1.5 with the laser links, and they'll soon be launching satellite 2.0. But since they have now completed the shell for everything but the Arctic and Antarctic, I'm curious where 2.0 will go. Will 2.0 be the next layer up, or will they start replacing existing satellites already?
Yeah, how fast those satellites turn over, of course, that goes into whether you're positive cash flow or not. Because of course, if you're replacing those satellites faster than expected, that's a cost of launching, getting them in the proper orbit, and then of course doing it again as another one drops out. So I believe that the 2.0s and the 1.5s are supposed to be allowing them to cover more land without the need for certain areas to have base stations on Earth.
Correct.
And of course, that makes sense in the poles. You do not want some sort of infrastructure that you have to maintain on the poles in order for the service to work. So
that'd be a nightmare.
having that laser communication in space is going to be far better than trying to call a repairman to go out at -40 to repair something that's buried under 2 feet of snow.
Yeah. So, plus, with laser communication all the way through, it'll actually be faster to do everything through SpaceX than it would be through a buried fiber, especially if everything goes up through a satellite with a laser and then comes down in the data center that you need it in. So that would be a market improvement.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was an interesting talk. If you've got about 45 minutes, I suggest you look it up in the show notes and take a look.
You can even put it on 2x. Well, Elon talks kind of fast. I put it on 1.5.
Yeah, I don't think you'd pick it up all of it if you were on 2x, but Next story is, of course, there's a picture to go along with our next story. So we'll share
Nice.
this.
I like pictures.
And we'll share the screen here. And Casey, can you see that?
I can.
Very good. So we've got not only a report, but the pictures to back it up, that the prefab superchargers are starting to arrive at Gigafactory, Texas. So you've got a shot there of a couple of flatbed trailers with, it looks like, 3 segments. So that would be 12 superchargers on 3 different concrete pads that have shown up. And of course, the concrete pad, the prefab for the supercharger is supposed to speed things up for installation. That's not in use everywhere. This is not something that superchargers are all like. Some of the ones that are currently being built are still being built the old way, where the individual components have been shipped in crates and are dropped off at the site and then installed by the electrical workers. But in this particular case here in Texas, it looks like they're going to start with the prefabs.
Yeah, a friend of mine was charging at a supercharger in North Carolina, and it is the prefab, and it was interesting that they didn't they missed level by a little bit, and so they were managing to have a nearly rolling the ankles if they stepped up onto the, the pad
Oh, because like the pad was sticking above
above the curb.
the flat earth area. Okay.
Yeah, because you got the curb, and then you got the pad, and then you've got the flat earth behind it, and 3 different levels.
And it's interesting that the photo we saw with the prefabs, they don't show the bollards in place to
Right.
protect them. So I guess those are added after the fact as well.
But it's not too hard to add bollards versus trenching the high voltage cables, and if you just got to plug them in once versus.
But I would imagine the bollards would be. You would think you would have to dig into the earth a little bit
Yeah,
in order for it to be. So you're going to have to dig through the concrete pad that's already there underneath everything. So
assuming you put them in at all. You've seen so many of them where they've been pushed over by a pickup truck.
yeah, that's a. I gotta believe they're useful in a number of cases, but
They are.
there's probably, once you have, as Tesla does, when you have thousands of these installed across the world, you can certainly start looking at statistics and saying, are these things ever hit? Do we need to put them in place, or is the percentage of ones hit indicate that we really don't have to go through the trouble? So that's
Or
some
does
of
it
the
depend
data
on
they're
where they
probably
are?
collecting. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So.
Like, in the country, we got to worry about pickup trucks. In the city, we don't.
Exactly.
or whatever the numbers happen to be, obviously.
So that may certainly roll into their calculations as time goes along. And again, that's another bonus of Tesla owning the sites, is that they get all the data. So and we're still waiting for a couple of things to happen with those sites. We're waiting for maybe Wi-Fi to show up.
Oh yes.
Or if that
Wi-Fi base station from StarLink. Yes.
exactly, if they're going to be hooked up, why would you not? Because a lot of those, the vast majority of those superchargers typically have a little gated off section where, of course, the larger machinery is placed. The larger electrical equipment are typically stored inside a fenced off with a gate, close to the supercharger site, and to be able to place in a StarLink receiver right on top of that would be a perfect fit for them.
Plus, I'm sure they get a more competitive rate as a StarLink customer
Yeah.
than they do as an AT&T customer.
And while they're at it, I would also suggest to put up a couple of tilt pan zoom cameras to those
Yes.
sites as well, since you're going to have the bandwidth available to you, you may as well use it as a security feature on top of that.
Or at least a 360 or 2.
Yeah.
That we don't have to worry about motors.
That's right. That's right.
And Hockey Day says that they're already
ones that can read license plates really well.
Yes. Hockey Day says they're already installed. They would install the poles for safety or lawsuits. Yeah, some jurisdictions they have them where it's required, and then others I don't know why they do have them if they're not required. But uh, it seems to make sense to have something to make it harder to knock them over, because the leaning tower of supercharger is unfortunately a common sight.
Yeah. But of course the Bollards, as they're placed with Tesla superchargers, there's just one between every supercharger, so it's not like there's two up front that are blocking it. If you have a pickup truck that wants to, it could definitely back up and hit the supercharger without hitting a Bollard
Yeah,
quite easily. If
good point.
if
So
you
they have the
were
bare minimum of
if you were
bollards.
aiming, yeah, if you were aiming. So, but speaking of pickup trucks,
Pickup trucks.
yeah, Casey's got our next story.
I do. So Elon was on Twitter, and let's see, how did it go down? Somebody was talking to him about 2 weeks, and it was in there. I don't know exactly which one he responded to get this response, but that was kind of funny. He actually had a little self-deprecating humor with 2 weeks. And so his response to the Model 3 owners was Friday afternoons are usually, so that would be Trevor, are usually Tesla design studio time. CyberTruck will be almost exactly what was shown, and we're adding rear wheel steering so it can do tight turns and maneuver with high agility. Lots of other great things coming. So curious how it could be almost exactly what we saw, but also add rear wheel steering. Is this something that they missed when he got flustered in his presentation, or was it something added shortly after? Because they did mention that the design was pretty much locked in. So the design at this point should be working with suppliers and maybe trying to simplify things that were already on there for high manufacturability. So
Or did
hopefully
they
it doesn't mean they're
always
not done.
know? Or did they always know they wanted the rear wheel steering, and they were just going to release it as a nugget
I hope so.
as time went along, hoping to boost discussion about the Cybertruck like it needs to be boosted. But
Right. Well,
it sounds like a smart PR move just to kind of hold that back. No one's ever mentioned it.
never.
It's never been discussed. It's not like we've seen the Cybertruck on a close course, seeing how tight it corners.
I
So
wonder if
it
this
just
was
never
part of
came up.
the wish list while we were helping him design the car, and we're like, "Hey, it needs locking diff. It needs to fit under the Giant. It needs onboard generator." I'm curious if that was one that was mentioned, because people were talking about how much suspension travel it needs, and it's got a lot.
Can you imagine the number of suggestions he would have got, having millions and millions of viewers on Twitter, just putting out that thing and saying, "Hey, what would you like to see?"
I saw a couple
Just
thousand
talk
personally.
about,
I'm curious how many he got. I'll
yeah,
put
like
three in.
talk about crowdsourcing. What a
Yes.
great resource to use.
Yeah. Some of them he actually answered, "Yes, we're going to do that." Others he didn't answer, and so this is actually really nice, because my Model X sometimes has difficulty in parking lots because it's so long, and the Cybertruck is longer. So I'm also wondering if this will help with. Remember, he was talking about how he was going to do progressive steering with the yoke eventually. If the rear axle is electronically steered, then that might be closer than we imagine. Because there's no point in making it physically attached like they do currently with the front axle.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, drive by wire certainly would be used in the the rear wheels for steering, I would think.
Yeah, I'm curious if they'll do like the Delphi system 20 years ago now, where
So am I. Oh, we're back. Okay.
and then on the highway, if it will steer the same direction, where that way. I don't know exactly why they steered the same direction on the highway, but they other than they
Well,
could.
steering the same direction would give you the Crabwalk, is what GMC is saying for the Hummer, right? It gives you
Right, but they didn't call it Crabwalk in the 2000s, because
no,
what did they
no.
call it when
I
the
have no
Delphis
idea
did
what
it?
they called it then. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I don't know. Maybe it was for stability or
and
something.
and of course, typically rear wheel steering is not as severe as the front wheel steering. So there's less of a
Correct.
degree that steering works in the back compared to the front.
But it can be.
It could be. It could be exactly. In fact, it could be more. But
Oh yeah, yeah. On the monster trucks, it's pretty close. But on the all the cars we've seen to date, production cars, it's been like up to 15 degrees. It's not much,
right.
but it's enough. I mean, every little bit helps, especially on
Yeah.
something this long.
So those of you with CyberTruck orders, what do you think? Are you and of course, will it come with every vehicle?
I
Or
hope so.
will
It better be standard.
will it only be on the upper or mid-level trims as opposed to the bottom?
I think
So
that the less options there are, the cheaper it is, and the easier it is for them to predict. Because then, if they need to change the mix between long range and plaid, all they're doing is adding a motor and changing the battery out.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's going to be interesting to see. It'd be interesting to see the turning radius and how it differs with the rear wheels,
Even better.
steering as well.
Build it on all of them, and then
Oh, make it an
software lock
upgrade.
it.
Upgrade
Yes.
it. Yeah. Software lock.
You got the
Exactly.
plaid, it's built in. You got the long range, it's 5,000. You got the standard range, it's there, but you can't do jack with it.
Standard range is 10 grand.
or that.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be across the board or if it will be in something that you can add on later, or if it will be just on select models. We'll have to see.
A certain Canadian publication jumped straight to Crabwalk, while everybody else took Elon at his word and said that it improves the turning radius. But as Mark and I were just discussing, once it's electronic, there's nothing stopping it except for patents, and they might be able to get around that, assuming that they could find a use case for writing it into software. I don't know about how many times you need to do diagonal moves.
I can't see that. Like,
I would like it for parallel parking.
You'd still have to come in on a weird angle. Like it would throw you completely off.
But if the car was doing it,
yeah, if the car was doing it, yeah. But just trying to judge, you can certainly get used to it. But I don't know if you've seen the GMC Hummer commercial where they show the vehicle crab walking from above.
Yeah.
And it shows that this vehicle is pressed between two banks of rocks.
Yes.
And it needs just to go this sideways motion to get out of it. And I'm going, how did you get in there first? Like, obviously it's a contrived situation to show the use of that particular product. But it looked kind of bizarre doing it. It's like, how many people are going to use that vehicle in those circumstances?
Yeah.
Probably not many.
The only other example they gave was where it's going around a garbage truck or some car that's parked on a one-way or something. And again, it's like... But what I think would be cool here is if you could use it with trailering. If you could do the four-way steer in the same direction, you could just whip your trailer around a lot quicker. Or if you could do rear-wheel steering only, when you're reversing, then it becomes more predictable. Or if you do the typical counter steer, it just becomes a tighter package to deal with when you're making your turns without risking a jackknife.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any possibilities?
Well, again, always like to hear more about the Cybertruck as it approaches production, and there's a ton of orders. Like we believe there's 1 million orders out there. People want that vehicle, so. I'm sure people will be happy to see four-wheel steering come to that truck for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Next, Casey's got an update for us. Oh, this is a StarLink story as well.
Yeah. So back to StarLink. Some fool in a Prius.
Here, I'll share a photo of this. This is definitely worth a share.
Yes, it is. Was pulled over by CHP. California Highway Patrol, for potentially obstructing his view. Potentially. And then when the officer asked him, hey, can you see? The guy said, yeah, as long as I'm not turning right. And The officer immediately issued a citation. His excuse was that he was using this to run his business. And I was thinking the whole time, what kind of business is that urgent that you need it on the hood? And what can you do legally while running down the highway with the data connection? The only thing I could think of is he's live streaming. But at that point, the audio is going to be terrible because, it's Prius on the highway. So everything else, they probably should look for a laptop or cell phone and cited him for that as well, because I think the only people allowed to run with a laptop down the street are the police, and they shouldn't be doing it either. For safety.
This is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen mounted to the hood of a moving vehicle.
Yes, JT24 said it was called Quadristeer. That was the name of the earlier version of it.
Oh, okay. Thanks, JT. So, I don't like.
Why not the roof?
Just the wind force of
Yes.
it. Wouldn't that screw up the dish placement? Like,
it only has these little tiny motors.
Yeah, like the small servos in this thing, they could stand up to highway speed driving? I doubt it.
I don't think so, yeah. So why not the roof? As well as there was another small business owner who does use his that was shown. He has a Land Cruiser, Toyota Land Cruiser, and while he takes pictures with it on the roof, he doesn't drive with it on the roof. He actually gets up there, takes it down, unclips it, puts it in the back, and then when he gets to where he's going, he puts it back up there. But before he leaves the zone, he puts in the new address for service to where he's going to be. That way, when he gets there, it's not outside of the lockout zone.
Right.
Yes, I don't know what this guy's doing, because just hoping the connection stays alive.
That is just bizarre. I don't know. I don't know what the guy's thinking. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But maybe he's just trying to get his way out of a ticket. I don't know. Just to say he's using it for business and you're on the highway. I
don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe he's trying to rust the hood of it.
I know that highways are typically slow in rush hour in California, but come on, like I just cannot see it being useful anyway because of the small servos. And
that was a 3rd gen Prius, so it's not like he could say that he had ADAS of any sort. It might have the lane keep warnings, and it didn't look like it was the high end trim, so it didn't have the radar cruise that was available that year.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if it was available in America.
It just seems bizarre. So don't do this at home, because obviously you're going to get a ticket. And telling the policeman that you can see fine except when you make a right-hand turn does not make a lot of sense. Like that's not going to, the officer's not going to agree and say, oh yeah, that makes sense. You just made your mind up not to make any more right-hand turns, right? Yeah.
Right. Well, they didn't say that criminals are brilliant.
Yeah. This is certainly not on the brilliant side. But okay, on to the next. Elon talks about the mind of car view. What is that about, Casey?
So we may have seen the wireframe view in the FSD City Streets beta public testers that have been around. Like our friend Raphael that we spoke with months ago now. It's been that long.
It's been a while.
2 weeks. So that would be the update to that, where the car is showing you what it's thinking. That way you have confidence in what it's about to do. Very much like we have with Navigate on Autopilot, where it shows you where it's going to be making the turns, what it sees for stoplights and stop sign control beta. That way you can feel confident in what it's doing. So if it is rocketing up to a stoplight, in my case, it usually is, but I see that it sees the light is green or red and like a little text down below that says it's going to be stopping in 600 feet, then I won't be disengaging it coming up to the red light. But if I don't see the traffic light detected and I don't see the text saying that it plans to stop for traffic control, then I assume it doesn't see the red light and is trying to kill me.
You're on high alert at that point, aren't you?
Yeah. So being able to read the mind of the car is pretty important, especially at this early stage where the car may do the absolute worst thing at the absolute worst time, I believe was the quote. Having a little confidence in knowing what it thinks it's doing will be critical.
So those type of alerts or warnings to the human occupant will be key to allow them to know that that they believe the car will be performing the proper option at the proper time, as opposed to just not seeing anything and just hoping that the vehicle does what it should do.
Right. And so
What's so funny?
I'm losing what I was going to say about it.
So if it's like the like those messages you were saying, the car is going to stop in 600 feet, and it's planning on doing that. But
Yeah, or when it draws the path of where it's going to turn. So if it's saying it's going to go
a light path going through the streets, right? So where it's saying
right,
this is the sweeping turn the car is going to take.
right. Say you're in a left turn only lane and it's drawing that's going to go straight. Well, you don't want it to do that.
Right. Time to be on high alert again. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
and so it's probably going to be an enhanced look for that, a little simplified, a little prettier. Elon said he wasn't too keen on letting us all have the wireframe view.
and of course, as someone responded, when? The answer is 2
weeks.
When's it come? 2 weeks. Definitely.
No, he didn't say definitely. He just said 2 weeks.
No, just 2 weeks. That's it. Well, let's move on to the next story, and that's some exciting news from the Boring Company.
It is my favorite. So, in Fort Lauderdale, the Boring Company has won their preliminary bid. So they're now 45 days for competitors to submit their bids, and this will hopefully ease traffic in Fort Lauderdale. This is going to be between downtown and the beach. So I'm curious.
So looking at the map, looks like about 2 miles from the downtown core to the beach, and basically in a straight line too.
Yeah. So is this going to be the regular size tunnels, or will they be the cargo size tunnels?
Yeah, good question. Would it be advantageous to have the bigger tunnel? Probably. If you could afford it, I would go bigger. If just gives you more versatility in the future if it should be required.
Yeah, you can get shipments from downtown to the boardwalk, or I don't know how close it is to a port, but you could then get your Tesla semi from the port to downtown. Or wherever, however big this network ends up being.
Yeah,
because they don't usually just do a little one shot.
Now, what is interesting, if you go take a look at a topographical map of Fort Lauderdale and the beach, from downtown to the beach, in between, you've got a lot of different lagoons and waterways that the intercoastal and such, where people actually have their boats stored in their backyard of their house. Like if Florida is, that's the big attraction of Florida, is to have a boat on the water and have accessible to your house. So there's a lot of these little lagoons that are all connected for boats to get out into the intercoastal and to the ocean. So this particular tunnel is going to have to go underneath a lot of these water features. So that's going to be interesting. Tunnel obviously is going to have to be somewhat waterproof in order to, obviously they don't build it right in the water. They dig under the earth, under the water. But does that require it to be deeper than a typical tunnel? Certainly deeper than the ones that are in Las Vegas, I would think.
Maybe, but the water table is allegedly 3 feet there. So it's 3 feet is definitely smaller than even the smallest boring tunnel. So the beauty is that the tunnels are waterproof. The question then is the new boring tunnel boring machine, is it able to hold back any sort of fluids, or will it just be pumping it out from behind as they keep going?
Yeah, that's is it? And we've never seen the actual boring machine in action besides it being above land. We've never really seen it. Is it
And when
doing
it broke
something
through in
like?
Vegas.
Is it doing something like the Channel and the other ones have done? Is that there are concrete segments on pallets that roll into it automatically, and as it drills the hole, it places the concrete pieces around the outside of the tunnel and seals it as it moves.
Yes.
So if that's the case, then I don't think that's going to be a big difference for what they've done elsewhere, because
Their um, special sauce is supposed to be that they can do that part in one step rather than dig and stop and build and switch back and dig and stop and repeat. But I don't know that they are 100% there yet. They didn't say for sure what the new machine is able to do, or if it's entirely to boring spec, or if it's just another an update to an existing system that's just closer to what they were trying to achieve.
right. One of the big advantages of the boring machine is its ability to start on flat on land and then start to dig into it or burrow into the ground at an angle. Whereas traditional tunneling machines, a big hole has to be dug, the machine placed and assembled in the hole, and then it goes off and starts drilling into the ground from a level surface. But apparently, the boring company's machine should be able to angle itself into the earth and then dig down and then straighten out once it's at the proper depth and actually come up out of the ground on an angle as well. So
You know what that
those
reminds
are
me of?
things that they are supposed to be ahead of the game in.
Reminds me of the Shredder's tunneling machine in the Ninja Turtles.
Or more recently, the in the Pixar film, The Incredibles.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the mole creatures had a machine like that.
Well,
So
here's a write up on the new one, Proofrock.
the
It's
proof
arrived
rock,
in Vegas.
exactly. And its goal was to be faster than a snail. That was
Yeah, yeah.
that was its whole goal. So again, it looks like Fort Lauderdale is they've agreed to the proposal that the boring company sent. But of course, as Casey mentioned, they've got about a 45-day wait as they see if there's any competing bids to come in from other companies to propose something as well.
I wonder who the competition is right now because they would have to be able to dig a
There's
smaller
going to be
tunnel.
no there's going to be no competition on this bid.
Bezos
Like,
comes in, loses, and sues.
I just can't see another tunneling company that's already up and running because they just can't compete with the price.
Right, because the existing ones, they make bigger tunnels for way more money and never on time.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Jeff who?
and again, the mayor of Fort Lauderdale, along with the mayor of Miami, had both gone out to see the operation at the Las Vegas Loop. So they were there
Yeah.
in person to see what it looked like, how it was operating, and I guess we're significantly impressed enough that they want to move ahead with it. And that'll be, if this goes ahead, it'll be, of course, the first installation of a boring tunnel on the East Coast.
Yep,
So we look forward to that to
we
see if
do.
this project can move ahead, because that other one that happened or on the East Coast was like Maryland, Baltimore area,
Yeah.
where something was supposed to go on, and
There's been a
they
little
were
bit
even talking about um, particular blocks that were going to be used for underground stations, but nothing ever came of that.
there's been a little bit of political change since then, so we'll see if it comes to fruition.
Yeah. Well, of course, with more and more of these, if they can get it to go ahead, another example in the United States will draw in more clients
Yes.
as people start to notice that not only does it work in the desert, it works in Florida.
Underwater.
with a low water table. So
Yeah.
that will be another feather in their cap.
With limestone.
Moving forward. With limestone. Yeah, exactly. So very good. Well, any questions in the chat room for us, Casey? Anybody
So
in the
JT was
chat
saying
know
that he was upset by the aerodynamics done to the Prius, and I agree.
Aerodynamics done.
And then here's Proofrock, or a demo of Proofrock at least, doing the angled burrowing you spoke of. And again, it looks exactly to me like Ninja Turtles.
Yep.
Uh,
Very good.
yeah.
Well, with that, Casey, what do you got going on this week? What's happening on the Casey Green channel?
So, I got my latest test box, which included this graphic.
Ooh, what's that? It's upside down? Or no, it's
No.
not. Okay.
It's a burn of the CyberTruck.
It's a little bit blurred. Your camera's still blurring it.
Yeah, let me get on that right. Yeah. Turn off the blur. Oh, where'd you go? I clicked the button and it went away. There we go. There we go. It's clear now, right?
That's better. Yep.
Yeah, so it's a burn of the CyberTruck. It's looking for me.
And keep searching for you.
So a burn of the CyberTruck. And then I managed to injure my wrist with in there was a glass breakage kit, which included a ball bearing, which was funny because Franz. And then there was a tool that looked special, according to all the females that opened it. And so with that, I tried to use it on a prop. So I went to the junkyard and bought a window and tried to break it, and instead it broke me. And then just a few days later, we got those calls about the folks with the trapped in the plaid, and I said that was bogus. So I went to prove it, and so I went ahead and made a video showing you how to get out of every Tesla, from Model S to Model X to new Model S and Model X, and including the Model 3 and Model Y. And so my last demo was showing you how to get out of the Model X, and those doors weigh a couple hundred pounds, and I injured my shoulder.
So you've been out injuring yourself for the channel.
Yeah, but doing like just basic stuff that should not injure you, and whoops.
Oh man, not good at all. Good. So yes, you better ease off on the physical demonstrations, obviously.
At least for a little while.
At least till you heal up completely.
Exactly. And so you can find that at youtube.com/Casey Green. I think so.
Very good. Hold the name. Absolutely.
Yes.
And as mentioned before, if you're with us already to this point in the video, please give us a thumbs up. That helps us out. And if you want to help us out even more, press the subscribe button, and that gets us in front of more eyes. So we would appreciate that. Thumbs up and subscribe. Doesn't cost you a dime and helps us out. So thanks very much if you have done so. And with that, we will wrap it up for this week. And we want to thank Lee Moon for the music we use every week. And again, follow us on Twitter at The Tesla Life, or our Facebook page, The Tesla Life #1. And with that, we will see you next week and find out what's going on in the Tesla Life.